What's going on, everybody? It's FREEDO here for Your Overwatch. Today we're going to be doing a guide for the reworked Hanzo. He's quite a different character nowadays, and whereas in the past he was quite niche and a bit too unwieldy to be consistent, he's now moved over to be about as reliable as any of the projectile heroes are, and he still has the benefit of getting a lot more value the more skill you can put into him. So today we're going to break down a few elements of playing Hanzo, the best way to approach aiming his weapon and abilities, how to use his new mobility to take aggressive angles and really take over the game, and also how to utilize his ultimate to its max potential. First up on aim, this first clip has everything included to how I go about balancing what type of shots I take. In the poke stage of a fight, you're looking to whittle down shields, pressure angles, and just put down general spam as the fight is developing. If you're going to be shooting at Ryan's shield, it also is nice to try to take pot shots down headshot lanes, because sometimes you get lucky like I did here against the Mercy. But what isn't so much luck is how I take the next couple shots. Because I know the Hanzo on the bridge is using cover in order to only show his head, I time spamming my primary fire at headshot height so that he ends up walking into it. That's the only shot I could have taken on him, so I have to go for a headshot. However, after we kill a few members of the enemy, now my brain kind of switches over into cleanup mode, where we just need reliable damage quickly, and as long as we team shoot, we're going to kill things. So I switch over to going to body shots against the Genji and the Zarya just to guarantee killing them, because you never want to be the Hanzo who's stuck trying to spam at headshot height all of the time and you can't hit reliable shots. That's my first major tip. Don't be afraid to use his primary weapon to go for reliable connections, because the way characters move in Overwatch, if you spam at headshot height all the time for every situation, you're going to find yourself whiffing a lot of shots where just putting down the reliable damage would have been just fine, and in fact more effective. So what it comes down to is realizing what stage of the fight you're in. If it's not committed and you don't really have a chance of gaining much from going for reliable shots, go for the headshot spam. Look for those lower percentage shots because you're at less risk to immediately need to do damage, and there's a bigger reward for getting a big range pickoff. But as the fight starts to break out and commits itself, you're going to want to look for reliable damage so you can guarantee impact. This goes for both of his firing modes, even Storm Arrow as well, but I think players often underutilize the potential of Storm Arrow because you often see fluffed shots like the ones that I'm taking here against this Lucio, where I'm treating Storm Arrow more like a machine gun, like I'm playing Soldier or something, rather than shooting a projectile. Whereas funnily enough, as I take the time to charge up my regular shot, then I can get a nice clean headshot. But really, you should think about Storm Arrow no different than you think of your primary arrow. A funny thing that I learned after playing so much Hanzo in the last couple seasons is that just because Storm Arrow shoots faster doesn't mean the available shots you have in front of you increase. What I mean is, characters are moving and doing all their dodging and mobility abilities. Just because you can shoot more projectiles out into the void doesn't mean there's more available shots in front of you for you to be able to take. So in the same way that we do with our primary fire, when we're using Storm Arrow, you sort of have to think what the situation is that you're looking at. Are you dumping it into tanks just to get as much reliable damage down as possible? Or if your target is squishier with a smaller hitbox or a lot of mobility, and especially just head jukes, a lot of characters have crazy head jukes too, you want to take the time that you normally would with a regular charge shot just to isolate that animation and really look at how your foe is moving in order to guarantee that you get at least something to hit. We're not even talking about going for headshots at this point, because a lot of the time with Storm Arrow, honestly, I don't even think you need it. It's just so much damage and so reliable that if you just hit a few of them at the most reliable center of mass, you either will get the kill anyway, or sometimes even luckily get a headshot that you weren't even really aiming for, just based on how the character's hitboxes bobble. Here's a good clip to show the importance of taking your time to really focus in on some of these shots. As I climb up the window with my dragon making space for me, I see the Zarya has caught me mano a mano, but she has half her health, so I don't need to rush this. Get reliable damage on target and get the kill. Now with my storm bow ready, the Mercy Valk takes to the sky, but I'm sure to watch how she's moving through the air, making sure that I don't get caught out by a quick Guardian Angel, and here I'm flicking to the target in order to quickly get my aim onto the center of mass pass in the direction that she's going, and we melt that target. Now in this duel against the Tracer, I'm totally fine with going for body shots here, because if she tries to get close to me, I can go for a melee to finish her. But simple spam down the headshot lane pressures her to recall, and then follows up with a headshot. But at this point now, through all the chaos of all of this, if you haven't seen, the enemy's Widowmaker has kind of gone uncontested, so we're by no means winning this fight. I still have to hit more good shots in order to have a chance of getting any progress on the objective. But almost like exhausted after hitting the good shots that I hit, I sort of spam out these storm arrows to no avail, and my team's just getting run over. Unfortunately, what I needed to do against that Reinhardt is take my time, know the situation. We can't spam aimlessly and miss any shots, especially on a tank. It's not really good enough, especially since we didn't even come close to taking him down. I had to either go for a squishier target or get criticals on the tank, but definitely not miss. And we eventually lose the team fight, not directly because of it, but it goes to show the window of opportunity that you have as a DPS player if you want to actually have a big impact on the game. But we can go on and on about how to worry about your aim forever. We've got a lot of guides on the channel about how to aim projectiles and how to read animations especially, and those apply to Hanzo as well. Moving on though, now we're going to talk about how to aggressively take angles and use Hanzo's ability to run up walls and lunge as sort of a backup plan to allow you to go for aggressive plays. I think you'll find in ranked a lot of teams love to play slow. Dive tanks only really get popular as you start to go up to like GM rank, so a lot of times you're going to be playing up against Orisa or Rein Zarya, and when there really isn't a tank that can just jump on you and punish you for taking greedy angles, you should be taking them, because even if your aim is a bit average like mine is, you can still set up game-winning plays by just out-positioning the enemy and going for easy, reliable shots. Hitting shots that you go for is one thing, but setting yourself up for easy shots is a surefire way to level up your game. I'll show you two different types of approaches to defending here on Volskaya. The enemy's slow pushing into the center of the map. Knowing that it's unlikely for me to get a pick here, I'm just working down the shield, kind of feeling out how they move forward. But generally, I think this passive play is quite poor because we're not really making any impact into this fight until the fight fully develops onto our side of the map, and I take up this new angle on the top left, which gives me a sight line past the Rhine shield, which frankly, I can't afford to be shooting anymore, otherwise the enemy's probably going to be able to hit me, and I use it to get damage into their backline. Now on their next attack, this works even better because I'm able to go greedy top right, start flinging arrows into their backline, and in fact, it pressures out the Zen to use his trance way early, which sets us up for a free grab, and probably an overkill ultimate from me here, but you get the point. You definitely want to be shooting shields instead of doing nothing else, but it's even better if you can bypass shields in order to deal meaningful damage. Now, of course, you can't always play this aggressive because the enemy's going to catch on to you and start to either send a flanker at you or even more effectively switch over to dive tanks and just contain you to play more passive. But as long as the enemy's not playing a Lucio, not playing dive tanks, not sicking a flanker on you 24/7, you can get away with murder going for these aggressive angles, looking for spam lanes to deal damage. Now onto our last section, I'm going to discuss using Hanzo's ultimate. And the biggest tip I have is that you don't always have to put it into a graviton. If your Zarya gets the whole team in it and they don't have a defensive ult in order to save them, sure. But instead, you can really level up your Hanzo ult game when you start to use it to isolate targets or separate the front line from the back line. Think of it more to zone to guarantee a crossfire onto a target, or even just getting that one kill can be enough. On our Blizzard World defense here, look how the enemy is attempting to launch their dragon kind of aimlessly at the point, and I wait to use mine until we zone out this Roadhog who's trying to go aggressive with it. This burns him down quite easily and guarantees a kill. Really good. But now here on Junkertown, we see the enemy is shaping up in order to retake into streets, and we launch Grav, and it doesn't get that much actually. And if you think about it, did we really have to lock down the enemy with Grav to guarantee kills with this dragon? I could have just waited for the Rhine to try to take more space out, knowing his team was behind him, and launch the dragon dry into this hallway, and it probably would have had the same exact effect. And you sort of sneak out not needing Graviton Surge to be able to use it later. Now, of course, using Hanzo ult in the way I'm trying to prescribe has risks attached to it. You very easily can place it somewhere that doesn't end up being that fruitful, but I think taking those risks and really feeling out how to do so is required to level up your Hanzo game. Here we'll take a look at a viewer submission. Killer Queen sent in a Hanzo gameplay to youroverwatchplays@gmail.com. Special thanks to Killer Queen for helping us out with today's video. And he had a pretty good Hanzo performance overall, hitting a lot of clean shots, but the major difference maker was how reluctant he was to use Dragon in multiple fights. Watch how this fight starts to extend out on Streets phase. Reinhardt is kind of running for his life here. He's discorded, they're trying to pump as much healing into him as he can, the enemy's taking space, there's just chaos everywhere. Then, by the time the enemy gets into the back line of the defense here, we still haven't used Dragon and we've lost the fight. Death Blossom and the enemy's Transcendence is in our face, and we don't really have a hope. And what this clip shows us is a very important rule. It's more important that the enemy has to use their ults to bail themselves out than easily set up on your side. If the enemy's got infinite health with Trance and they're far from you, it doesn't do as much damage because you can just sidestep it and run away. But if they have infinite health in your face, they're almost guaranteed to kill you, right? So at any point in the chaos of this fight, if we use Dragon in order to make a safe zone on the cart, so our Rein could sort of stabilize in the heart of the storm, and hopefully even force them to use some ults earlier, we could find ourselves stabilizing. And by the way, with all of the damage he ended up doing to this Reinhardt later in the clip anyway, he probably would have been well on his way to his next Dragon. The final fight on defense here shows us even better. Here we're sitting on a ton of ultimates, the enemy in their final fight, but instead of just popping Q in order to force them to ult inefficiently, we don't use our Dragon until one of our tanks is already dead. Then the enemy get on top of our Orisa, giving double value to the Transcendence that they used in response. Whereas if you force the enemy to use the Trance by throwing Dragon at them earlier, they get less value out of those support ults. Then this last stall defense kind of harkens back to other things we've already discussed in the video. You can sort of see the trouble you can have when you start getting caught having to shoot at a Rein shield. When he was up on the jail, he had the opportunity to go for some really impact damage, finding the back line, but from this position, he can't really see anything other than the tank, and not enough meaningful shots get hit in the small amount of time he has. Then the enemy has their ults, big ultimate advantage, they just toss their ults into you, and this match just sort of slips out of our Hanzo friends' fingers, despite playing very consistent and strong throughout the rest of it. Now, there definitely are downsides in trying to use your ultimate in the way that I'm describing, because if you don't have an overhead view of the battlefield in your head as you toss these ults out, you can run into problems like I did in this Junkertown game, where I don't lay down the ult in the most effective way, which makes it provide a small amount of zoning, but not really the impact we needed in this situation. When you've got the ult here in cleanup fights, especially at the end of maps, you can either use the Dragon to toss it out the spawn door as people are trying to get out to guarantee some damage onto them, or don't be afraid to take the extra time to set up the Hanzo ult on the entire cart. Whereas here, I'm kind of just tossing it near the cart, not putting enough thought into it, so it overall is getting less than it might if I took the extra time to reposition down the center street and just laid the Dragons on the entirety of the cart so that it was really hard for the enemy to touch it. Well, guys, it's going to be everything for this Hanzo rework guide. I hope you found it useful to increasing your effectiveness with the Shimada Bowman. If you'd like to submit gameplay for us to break down on the channel to help make review content or even aid in a guide like this, email in to youroverwatchplays@gmail.com. Footage has to be HD, but it can be from any rank, any platform, but typically it's best if you send in games where you lost, but you weren't sure why. Or I'll expand that even further and say a game where there was a typical example of something you struggle against, be it a certain hero, playstyle, map, etc. Upload games to YouTube and send in the link to youroverwatchplays@gmail.com with a short description of the game, your rank, and the heroes featured in the video. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave it a like. It really does help us out and lets us know that you're enjoying the content, and if you haven't already, please subscribe because we upload each and every day, so you're going to want to hit the bell icon so that you get notified when our videos go live. Linked in the description is our Twitter, where we tweet out news, updates, and dank memes. That's been it for me. I've been FREEDO for Your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.